You might have heard of ADHD hyperactive type, where people are visibly restless and easily distracted. But did you know there's also a subtype called inattentive ADHD, where the symptoms are more subtle and often go unnoticed? Instead of the hyperactivity and impulsivity that are commonly associated with ADHD, inattentive ADHD is characterized by difficulty paying attention, staying organized, and completing tasks. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are ways to manage these ADHD traits. And in the bonus section later in this video, I'll hand out some tips on how you can use visual aids to deal with adult ADHD traits. Trust me, you want to stay put for that. Welcome to Wellness Lenses, where we talk about mental health and the journey to self-development. Without further ado, let's dive in. Now you might be wondering why we are focusing on inattentive ADHD in adults. The thing is, a lot of adults might not even realize they have inattentive ADHD, because the symptoms can be subtle and hard to detect. This can lead to difficulties in many areas of life, including work, relationships, and personal well-being. So let's talk about some of the hidden signs that might indicate you have inattentive ADHD as an adult. First, do you find yourself frequently losing things, like your keys or phone, or forgetting appointments or important dates? This kind of forgetfulness could be a hidden sign of inattentive ADHD, and it has everything to do with how the brain processes information. People with inattentive ADHD often have trouble working memory, which is the ability to hold on to information in your mind for a short period of time. This can lead to forgetfulness, as the information simply isn't being stored properly in the first place. For example, let's say you're at work and your boss gives you a list of tasks to complete. You're listening to your boss and nodding along, but as soon as they finish speaking, you realize you can't remember half of what they said. This isn't because you weren't paying attention. It's because your working memory couldn't hold onto all that information. Another example could be forgetting appointments or deadlines. People with inattentive ADHD often struggle with time management, which can lead to missed appointments or deadlines. This can be frustrating for both the person with ADHD and those around them, who may not understand why they keep forgetting. Another sign to watch out for is procrastination. If you've ever found yourself staring at a blank screen, knowing you have work to do, but just can't seem to get started, or maybe you find yourself constantly distracted by social media, or you start one task, but end up getting sidetracked by something else entirely, you might be experiencing the classic procrastination associated with inattentive ADHD in adults. Now, before you roll your eyes and dismiss this as just laziness, let me explain. Procrastination is not a personality trait. It's a symptom of ADHD. In fact, studies have shown that procrastination is one of the most common symptoms of inattentive ADHD in adults. You might be thinking, I don't have ADHD, I just procrastinate. And that could very well be the case. However, for people with inattentive ADHD, procrastination is a common coping mechanism. It's not that they don't want to do the task, it's that they have a hard time focusing on it or getting started. For example, let's say you have to write a report for work. You sit down at your computer, but your mind starts to wander. You check your email, scroll through social media, and before you know it, an hour has gone by and you haven't written a single word. You might start to feel anxious or stressed, but still can't seem to get started. This is where procrastination comes in. Instead of facing the task head on, you find yourself putting it off until the last minute. It's not that you're lazy or unmotivated, but rather, you're struggling to focus and prioritize. This could be a sign of inattentive ADHD because your brain might have trouble prioritizing tasks. Before we move on to the next hidden sign of ADHD, if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content about self-development and mental health. It really helps our channel, and your kindness will go a long way. Speaking of tasks, if you often struggle to complete them, even when you know what needs to be done, that might just be another pointer to inattentive ADHD, because your brain might have trouble sustaining focus and staying on assignments for extended periods. Say you're a student who has a big project due in a few weeks. You know that you need to start working on it soon, but you just can't seem to get yourself motivated. You might find yourself checking social media or watching videos instead of focusing on your work, even though you know that this will only make things harder for you in the long run. Sounds familiar? This is a typical example of how difficulty completing tasks can be a hidden sign of ADHD. People with ADHD often struggle with executive function, which is the brain's ability to plan, organize, and complete tasks. This can make it harder for them to follow through on tasks, even when they know what needs to be done. Poor listening skills are also a hidden sign of inattentive ADHD. We all know someone who struggles to focus during a conversation. Maybe they're easily distracted or seem to tune out. And while this could just be a quirk or a lack of interest, it's also possible that it's a symptom of ADHD. Here's how ADHD makes it harder to listen. Like the others we already talked about, it's all about how the brain processes information. People with ADHD have differences in their brain chemistry and structure that affect their ability to pay attention and focus. It's not that they don't want to listen or that they don't care. It's just that their brains are wired differently. This can manifest in a few different ways when it comes to listening. Some people with ADHD might have trouble filtering out background noise, which makes it harder to hear what someone is saying. Others might struggle to stay focused on a conversation because their brain is constantly jumping from one thing to another. Of course, poor listening skills on their own aren't enough to diagnose ADHD. There are many reasons why someone might struggle to listen, from stress to hearing problems. But if someone has other symptoms of ADHD, like forgetfulness, restlessness, or impulsivity, then it might be worth exploring whether poor listening skills are part of the picture. Finally, there's something else many of us might have experienced at some point in our lives, without realizing it was ADHD. And that's making careless mistakes at work, or while doing other tasks. You are working on a project, can't seem to focus, and end up making mistakes that you wouldn't normally make. And the thing is, these mistakes can happen in any area of life, not just at work, which then leads to missed opportunities or even damaged relationships. So if you find yourself making these kinds of mistakes, it's time to take it seriously and seek help if necessary. These signs on their own might not necessarily mean you have inattentive ADHD. But if you notice a pattern of these behaviors and they're impacting your daily life, it might be worth talking to a healthcare professional about it. Now to our bonus section. One tool that can be really helpful for managing ADHD is visual aids. A helpful trick is to use a planner or calendar. This could be a physical planner that you carry around with you, or a digital calendar that you access on your phone or computer. Having a visual representation of your schedule can help you stay on track and remember important dates and deadlines. Another great visual aid is a to-do list. By breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, you can reduce overwhelm and feel more in control of your day. Finally, don't underestimate the power of visual cues. If you're someone who is easily distracted, try putting up visual cues around your workspace or home that remind you to stay on task. For example, you could put up a sign that says "Focus" or "Stay on track" to help you stay motivated. That's it for today, guys. I hope you found this information helpful and informative. And if you have any other tips or tricks for dealing with adult ADHD, please share them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great content, and we'll see you next time.